Steel Nation? Welcome back to the Steel Curtain Network, and also welcome back to G'day Steeler Nation, and also welcome back to Steelers Nation Australia. Well, this is another one that we have to swallow, I guess, with somewhat bit of pride. We're all Steeler fans, and it is hard, it is tough, it is frustrating. And as my title says, one step forward and yet two steps back. And in terms of that, I mean, like, one step forward is the Colts game. And going into this, in my live stream before, I did a live stream on my channel, Steel Nation Australia, talked about it in the chat. And I was like, just don't pretty much do what they did. Play competitively, turn up like they did last week with the Colts game, and move forward, get the victory, and get ready for, a big divisional matchup versus the Bengals. And it's frustrating because I think this team can be much better than how they played. And I'll start to get into, Aaron Rodgers and the game and this kind of stuff. And even from a certain point from my perspective, I watched the game up until near the fourth quarter, and I relied on, score changing, relied on a podcast that I work with, Steelers Dynasty podcast, to give me updates because I was going to work. At the same time, though, however, the scoreboard 25-10. Do you need to watch it? You don't need to watch it again. You obviously don't need to watch it again. There were parts of the offense that I thought just had no spark. There were parts of this game where Rodgers, he had been playing really good football, and this was the first time I think he looked like old man Rodgers, stepping up to the pocket, getting sacked, overthrows, not connecting with his receivers. No true receiver number two, as they talk about. Couldn't find his targets with DK Metcalf. There was things that were off. Very, very off. And I was at work today, and I just got home from work, and I started to think about, what do I want to talk about? What angle do I want to tackle this? And I think the best angle that I want to tackle this loss is just to move on quickly. And that is in terms of the old saying that Bill Belichick said, we're on to Cincinnati, because that's kind of next. Yeah, you can stay here if you want to. You can talk about the loss, this and that. But what I find very interesting is they have two bad losses versus the Bengals, the Packers. There was no defense. And then they turn it up. They turn the volume all the way up. They were charged up when they versus the Colts. They did stop Jonathan Taylor to 45 yards or something like that. They played good defense. They had good defense with Ramsey and Kyle Duggar playing safety. Then also in yesterday's game versus the Chargers, the defense played okay, but they couldn't get the turnovers to give them, the offense more chances to put the ball in the end zone. At the same time, even trying to put the ball in the end zone, they went fourth and out, and they just weren't connecting at all. So it was very frustrating. And sometimes, to me, it's football how it flows and works out. The Buffalo Bills lost to Dolphins. There was that upset, which was like, the Dolphins shouldn't be winning that game. The Jets won a game versus the Browns where Justin Fields, I think he threw for 47 yards or 57 yards, and one of those passes was around 50-yard pass in a screen. This is how football kind of works. But what is frustrating, and I know Steeler Nation can hear this all over the world, even myself and Steeler Nation Australia, doing the podcast on Steel Curtain Network and on the channel as well. And G'day Steeler Nation, what'll be episode 39 or something like that? Almost 40 episodes in almost a year since I've been back with SEM. The frustrating part is it seems like that this team can't string together wins. You'll have an odd game or a really impressive game versus the Colts. The defense is crazy. Everyone starts getting very hyped up again, and it's one step forward, two steps back. That's the really, really frustrating part. That's the frustrating part where you go into the comments, you start to think, oh, this team can go on a bit of a run. Even though the Ravens are climbing up the ladder, they're now one game behind us with 4 wins. We're in 5 wins. if we verse them 2 times, we can split with them or we can beat them, and you get very confident in our team to do this, and they lose in different ways, or the offense just couldn't score points. At one time, we had I think 3 points going into the third quarter, and there was a garbage time touchdown, I think, with Roman Wilson, and we got 10 points. You're scoring 10 points, you're not going to win football games. It's just not going to happen, right? It was 3 points for 3 quarters, and they scored a TD in the fourth quarter. Didn't mean anything. Couldn't get back on track. Rodgers had pretty much his, worst day with 16 completions out of 31. He had 1 TD and 2 interceptions and got sacked 3 times. Had a QBR of 4.6, which is really bad. And this is the point for me. I don't want to stay here too long because it is a long season, but I understand the fan base. I've been on YouTube for a long time now, 4 or 5 years. I understand the fan base. If we do really, really bad, everybody wants to fire Tomlin, or a big majority of people want to fire Tomlin. If we do really, really good, on the other side, many people like myself think, oh, we can win a playoff game. We're a good team. We got 6 turnovers. We beat the best team in the AFC South and the best team in the AFC. And can we string together wins? And then it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. And that's the frustrating part. And I understand it. I get it from one side that people want to fire Tomlin. They want to start new. They want to do this, want to do that. And on the other side, people say, well, what coach would you get? Who are you going to replace him? And what's going to happen? Right now, though, it's not going to happen. 11 weeks into the season, I don't think that would make any difference. I feel like that I think it was more on the players in this game. I think that, obviously the Steelers probably could have had a better game plan on the offense, not just doing halfback tosses and predictable maybe running schemes. But Warren's out there trying as hard as he can. The run blocking I thought was okay, but there were certain times when you're at your goal line and there's no creativity to move the ball forward 10 yards. And that's honestly the frustrating point. And I get it. I absolutely get it. But I don't think I'm going to play the game. I think the game is right now, as a Steelers fan, everyone's on the edge of their seat. And as a Steelers fan, you get the big win and you think you're going to win a playoff, right? Versus the Colts. 1 step forward. And you're thinking, oh, yeah, we're doing all right. We're doing okay. The next part, though, you get a big loss like this, a very disappointing loss, a very embarrassing loss, going out to LA, surrounded by, thousands and thousands of black and gold fans, so many Steelers fans, so many Steelers terrible tales. Steelers Nation travels very well, and also they live everywhere, including Australia and LA. You go out there and you lay the duck egg, and you come back, and then you come back, and it's like, do we have to start again? Do we have to just to have no expectations for a Bengals team coming into Heinz Field, Acrisure Stadium next week? And you are like a little bit like who's the bloke? Bill Belichick. We're on to Cincinnati. Is that where we're at? Do we stay there and we're on to Cincinnati? We have to do better, blah, 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 blah. Or does it go into a spiral, a downward motion effect where the team explodes on itself and we lose 2 in a row, we win 1? I don't think we've had this team in a long time cannot string together wins where you have a good victory and then you do another one. Since maybe 2020 when they did 11 in a row, but then everything fell apart. Last year, we felt pretty confident as a 10-3 Steelers team, but something always felt off in terms of Russell Wilson, the offense. It didn't all come together. Then it collapsed when we versed the Ravens, the Eagles, the Chiefs. I was there in Pittsburgh versus the Chiefs. I was there versus the Ravens in a bar with my mates from Steelers Dynasty Podcast, and a big shout out to HDU, Hooley Dooley University. They just can't seem to get that connection, play confident football. One week it's fantastic, and the other week or the next week, it's absolute BS. And I think that's a frustrating part because some Steelers fans, they, might want to think if we lose them all, we get a better draft pick. If we go on a slide, they're going to fire Mike Tomlin. If they're going to slide, they're going to trade players and get back draft picks for the future to rebuild and retool the team. On the other side, like me, I like this team. I think the personnel is good to a certain degree. There are some older players here and there, but when it matters most and when the team does show up and when they turn up and things are going all their direction and they're playing good football and they're getting after it, they are stopping the Colts, the number one team in the AFC. That's when it feels fun. That's when it feels like this team could be something. But then they can't string them together. If you're going to be a playoff team, if you're going to be, from all the years I've been watching football since 2002 and Tommy Maddox and all those guys back then and Amos Iraway, when I started, if you're going to have any, I guess, presence or any, good performance or good overall performance, or if you're going to show up in the playoffs, you have to string together wins. And they're not doing that. The Steelers just aren't doing that. Like I said, one step forward, 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 steps back. And it's almost like we're in the exact same spot where we were with the Packers game. The Packers game in prime time, we just, kind of shook off the Bengals game. Yeah, that sucked. Mike Tomlin doesn't win AFC North games away. The AFC North doesn't really win too many games away. And the Packers game, we had a chance to win, or at least be competitive in that game. Nothing happened. And the next minute you're playing the Colts. Where'd that come from? Where those 6 turnovers come from? Where putting points on the board and scoring a few and having the lead into the pretty much the lead into the fourth quarter and winning the game in garbage time when they came back. But this all could be summarized in that it's just football, right? Because when you go to other teams or other scores around the league, it's any given Sunday, and the Colts won 31-25. They had a big day with Taylor. We stopped them, they didn't. Right? Bears came back to win, and they're all talking about now Caleb Williams being a really good quarterback. The Dolphins shocked the Bills 30-13. The Bills Mafia is up in flames. Ravens won their game at home against the Vikings, and the Vikings had like 9 false starts. That's football. They played bad. One team has to win. The Jets won their game by throwing, a few yards here and there, and they had 2 kickoff returns, one for a kickoff return and one for a punt return touchdown. They won by 7. Football. Patriots beat the Buccaneers. Patriots now won 7 in a row. Even though Baker Mayfield throws 3 TDs, they still lose. The Saints upset the Panthers. They were 5-4 team. The other 5-5. The Texans come back to rally 26 points in the fourth quarter, and the Jaguars lose that game. What I'm trying to say is, in just overall summary, and just to put it all together, I don't want to play this game anymore. I don't want to play the game of I get too low and I get far too high. After every win, I get far too high. I think we're going to win the Super Bowl. And after every loss, I feel like the world is over. But I don't want to play anymore because this can be a thing where the Steelers identify that they stuffed up, have accountability from coaching to players to scheme or whatever it is to the offense and all this kind of stuff where Rodgers and these guys had bad games. Not everyone, but Rodgers had a bad game. Offensive line let in, couldn't hold up long enough for him to get rid of the ball. The receivers couldn't catch. There was all these kind of things. There was a defense that couldn't, there was a pick that was in Joey Porter's hands and he dropped it. And also on the other side, the Chargers didn't play their best game. They played a good game, good enough to win 25-10, but they didn't play a great game where they were having drops too. And there was like, at one stage, it was like, 5-3. It was almost like a hockey game score. What I'm saying is I don't want to stay here in that point of like bashing the team, the world is over, when football happens and games like the Texans come back 26-0 and that's talked about like it's a Jaguars collapse. Seahawks played really good too, 44-22. The Lions, the same score, took care of business with Mariota at quarterback, 44-22, and the Rams were a solid side, 42-26. However, what I think is the difference is this football team, the Steelers, Pittsburgh Steelers, I don't believe can put together, right now anyway, convincingly. They can't play four-quarter football. They can be one moment it's a really great game in Dublin with the Vikings and there are amazing things happening. And the next moment they're getting absolutely taken care of business with the Packers. Then one step forward, they play the Colts, smash them, take care of business. Two steps back, they go to LA, they go to the West Coast, where they're getting better at. They're starting to win over that direction the last 2 out of 3 times. And it feels like 2 steps back because you didn't get a win. And you've got the Ravens right behind you saying, we're going to win 3 in a row, maybe 4 in a row. And it's going to be a battle of the AFC North, Ravens versus Steelers. And we're trying to take the division. And that to me is the the most frustrating part. However, I'm not going to stay there. You guys can stay there if you want to. And also, speaking of staying here, we'll take a quick break on Steel Curtain Network, and we'll come back and talk more about this game and how can we, how do we move through this idea that the Steelers one week are a good team, and the next week they look like the Jets. Even though the Jets won, they look like the Browns. They look like a bad team that can't run the football. So we'll be right back, guys, after this little break on the Steel Curtain Network on G'day Steelers Nation. Alrighty, Steel Nation, welcome back to G'day Steelers Nation, and our title today, 1 step forward and 2 steps back. Hopefully I made my point clear enough, but just to summarize the point, I just don't want to stay in that negativity of we suck, we're terrible, fire everyone, we suck, we're the worst team in the NFL, because we went 2 steps back. Because only last week, the Steelers played really good football against the Colts, and we look like a team that could get it all together, turnovers, and they played with, they had the 40th anniversary for a Super Bowl there. They look like the Pittsburgh Steelers that wanted to blitz, turn up, show up, tackle, and hit hard. And then fast forward to this week, the Steelers offensively were just bad. And they're also there are stats to back that up. In terms of Rodgers and the quarterback play, he was 16 to 31. There was 5.2 yards per average. That's pretty bad. 3 sacks. Warren ran the ball 14 times for 70 yards. He tried hard. Warren tried really hard as normal. Caleb Johnson had ran the ball 2 times for 3 yards. I was hoping that the Steelers could give him more time, like 4 or 5, 6 times carries in this game, but there was no real chance to move him. Why have the Steelers moved on and not ran Gainwell like they did in the Vikings game? I don't know. Why are the Steelers very predictable on first down, doing a halfback toss to Warren, and he gets a 2-yard gain? The Steelers rushing right now is not where it should be in terms of, if we can run the rock, get first downs, then Rodgers can play action pass. He can find his targets and open the middle of the field up. And, there are times too where the Steelers, and then the one interception where it's bounced off. And I know it was late in the game, very late in the game. It bounced off Austin and he didn't catch it. There was overthrows, there was miscues, so many mishandlings on the offense where that Rodgers definitely showed his age and definitely showed his probably his worst game overall as a Pittsburgh Steeler number 8. Not saying we're done with him, not saying we're going to fire him, but yeah, the stats kind of back it up where this team, nothing was moving. They couldn't score points. Roman Wilson gets a TD, but it doesn't really matter. DK Metcalf was targeted 7 times, only caught 3. Freiermuth has been, in this game at least, he's been hidden away. 3 for 33. Darnell Washington had 1 catch for 15. Calvin Austin 2 for 14. Nothing was working. Nothing was moving. So it just didn't feel like the Steelers, and possibly could have been because Isaac Seumalo was out. They tried putting in Spencer Anderson. They tried putting in Andres Pete in there, or Mr. Pete, number 71. So they tried moving things around, and nothing was flowing. Nothing was moving in terms of first downs. And speaking of first downs, when I go to the team stats, the Steelers only had 11, but I feel like at some stage in this game, they had 3 or 4 or 5 going into the fourth quarter. 2 for 11 on third down. That's friggin' awful. They had 1 4th down, 0 for 1. The other team had 1 for 1. We had total plays of 50, and they had 69. Total yards, 221. Terrible. Drives at 12. They had 13. We got 2 interceptions. Like I said, from Rodgers, wasn't his best game. A few penalties here and there, and turned the ball over 3 times. And this, oh my goodness. I did not know the time possession, but the time possession is absolutely. I can't swear on this podcast. I can't swear on the podcast. It is bad. Time possession for this game. If you want to go back and watch the game, like I said, I haven't seen highlights. I haven't seen any. I've seen nothing besides the third quarter, and I listen to my friends talk about the game as I went to work. Time of possession for the Pittsburgh Steelers were 22 minutes and 25 seconds. The LA Chargers had 37 minutes and 35 seconds. You cannot win football games that way. 22 minutes and 25 seconds is absolutely horrendous, and that is embarrassing. To control the football, to win games the Pittsburgh Steelers way is holding the football, run the rock, getting first downs, bleeding the clock, and getting a touchdown to be 7-0. And then, Chris Boswell too. I love Chris Boswell, but he missed a field goal. That didn't help. You can't win games like that. You just can't. 22 minutes is embarrassing. Very embarrassing. And that's what I'm trying to say in this podcast, in this, like when I go to sleep, I'm recording at nighttime. So I go to sleep. I'll wake up tomorrow. It'll be my Tuesday. It'll be your Monday. It should be Victory Monday. It'll be like, Sorrow Monday or Mad Monday, chill, or you just, sad Monday. At this point, I don't want to stay here. I want to get ready for the Bengals game. If that makes sense. They played bad. And the Steelers can definitely turn this around in a Bengals team that came in and they smoked us. At the same point, we can turn it around, and the Steelers can turn it around and get to Joe Flacco and cause turnovers and make it a game. But they're so inconsistent. I don't know if the Steelers want to be a bad team or if they want to be a good team, because there are really good wins in terms of the Vikings win in Dublin, the Browns win against them at home and taking care of business with Dylan Gabriel, and a really good win against the Colts. And then they have some really bad losses in Bengals, Packers, and this last game versus Chargers. So it's frustrating. At the same time, it's football. Football is football is football is football. The internet is the internet. Football is football. The Steelers now moved to 5-4. And even to be very honest, and I do know that people use this phrase on Tomlin all the time, the standard is the standard because our points for are 212 and our points against are 220. So it's -8. And we're 5-4. They do seem like that kind of middle team right now where they can win some really good games and next minute they're getting blown out of the park. So anyway, Steeler Nation, that's kind of my podcast today. I wanted to jump on, do the show, the G'day Steelers Nation, talk about what I'm feeling, just talk about what I'm seeing. And it's funny because the schedule is not an easy schedule coming up. Not at all. The Steelers have the Bengals next. Then they have, I believe, the Bears in the mix somewhere. So, they're 5-4 now. They got Cincinnati at home. Then they verse the Bears in Chicago. That won't be easy. Then they verse Buffalo at home if Josh Allen and their crew can get it back together. Then we go to Baltimore, which is always a tough game there. And then Miami comes to Pittsburgh, which they're playing some inspired football right now by, beating the Bills. And they scored 30 points. They got nothing to lose because they're a 2-win team. And then we go to Detroit, at Detroit. And the Lions right now, if we played them, they're going to smoke us, absolutely smoke us. Then we go to Cleveland and then finish the year with Baltimore. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 games left. And I don't think we have like a Steelers identity where we know who they exactly are in that terms of, are they that confident team who beat the Colts that can get turnovers and they're rushing around the ball and all the defense fired up and crazy? Or are they this team versus the Chargers where they can't French toast, cannot French toast move the ball in a consistent manner to get first downs to keep your defense fresh. And they tried as hard as they can, because even our defense in this game, they got a few sacks. Highsmith got 2 sacks. Keanu Benton got a sack on Justin Herbie. You know, there were some times where the Steelers defense gave them a chance to get back in the game. They sacked him 5 times, and yet he had 1 TD, and they ran the rock good enough with Vidal, 3.8 yards average, to move the sticks and move the first downs. But the offense didn't have the firepower, or I think creativity, to score points. And you need to score points. It's all good getting turnovers and defense and that kind of stuff, but you got to score points. So that was a frustrating part. But for the Steelers, you know, games coming up, there's 8 games left, and I don't think we know the Pittsburgh Steelers identity. Who are they? Are they the really bad team, or can they be the really good team, or good team, at least a good team, to have a chance to get playoff wins with Rodgers and the connection with Darnell Washington and Freiermuth and, you know, Warren running crazy and DK Metcalf hitting his stride, running down the field, you know, 35 miles an hour. Are they that team, or are they the other team? Who are they? Who are the Pittsburgh Steelers? That's what's frustrating. Anyway, Steeler Nation, let's get after it. Thank you, everyone, for checking out G'day Steelers Nation on Steel Curtain Network, and also on Steelers Nation Australia. I know everyone who listens to Steel Curtain Network will be listening to all the shows. There's a bajillion shows on there. I listen to a lot of shows. I do like listening to the fellas from the preview or the post game with Jeff, Brian, and Dave, because even when I was a fan, I was listening to those guys, and they're good fun. Like, even though it's bad right now, it's like very therapeutic to listen to those guys. Or I listen to another show when I get time. I listen to the Scobro show. And one big shout out as well, I think it was Dave's wife, I believe, was still like a perfect record, like 7-0 in the stadium, which is crazy. Listen to those guys, because that's good football banter, good overall, you know, good Steelers football listening. And these shows are really fun. So we'll be around here talking about what went wrong, what went right, what to do next, what should they do, or whatever it may be. And at the same time, I'm just a bit confused of, like, who are they? Are they going to be the bad team? Are they going to be the good team? And then I got to push it all away, because you know what? Okay, you know what? Two more minutes. 2 more minutes. I can't stand the Bengals. I effing cannot stand the Bengals. The Bengals, to me, they are one of the worst, I guess, NFL franchises out there. Ever since Vontaze Burfict, Hushmanzada grabbed the terrible towel, they beat us last time with Joe Flacco going down the field to get the job done. Right, we scored way too early, and then they went down the field. Ever since then, ever since like the last few years with Hushmanzada, Vontaze Burfict playing their style of football, I've never liked them. They've been the number one most disliked team. And also the fact is, too, they've been to 3 Super Bowls and they've never won any of them. Never. So I'm hoping next week, because I won't talk to you guys before then, I'm hoping next week that the Steelers can bounce back. They can take care of business, play good defense, run the rock like normal. Rodgers back to his old self, finding DK, finding Austin, finding Roman Wilson, finding Nemo, whoever, finding, Big Darnell Washington, finding these players, moving the ball forward and scoring TDs. The Steelers have been scoring 24, 25 points per game average, much better than years past with the guy up north, Matt Canada, and we played much better football. And this could be one of those outliers. The defense stunk a few weeks ago versus Packers and Bengals. This could be a time where the offense stunk and they can turn it around. But I'm not going to stay there. I'm not going to play the game of the ultra super low and the super high. Just like Bill Belichick said, we're on to Cincinnati. We're going to move on to the Bungles. The Bungles are the Bungles for a reason. They're a terrible football team. No Joe Burrow, no win. They haven't done anything in 59 years. They've never won a Super Bowl, ever. we're very lucky and fortunate to have that, I guess, luxury to turn on Super Bowl 40, go back to the 70s, go back to Super Bowl 43 with James Debo Harrison running down the sideline to win Super Bowl 43. All right, Steel Nation, we're going to get ready for the Bengals. Don't stress. The Steelers can turn it around. They've just got to decide, who do they want to be? Do they want to be the good team, or do they want to be the really bad team? Okay, Steel Nation, I'll see you guys later on G'day Steelers Nation on the Steel Curtain Network.